Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max, number 290. If we're counting numbers here, I am your host, Sean Garmer, here with me, as always, Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
And well, this wasn't like I'd say the biggest news week that we've had in a while, but we still have plenty of things to talk about and some video games too. So check back with us in about 30 seconds.
Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2Mnet podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so Mark, I think the biggest thing, maybe not the most recent thing we're talking about, technically now it's like a week and a half old, but probably still the biggest game that's come out recently. You have now spent some time with it, Mark. How do you feel about that Metroid Dread?
Solid. Yeah, I like it.
Just solid, not.
Well, it's very. I mean, it's very much like Super Metroid to an extent. It looks obviously nicer.
Right.
I would say my biggest problem is kind of. I like I like Metroid Fusion because that was a game that had like 6 different levels, or like 6 different environments, and the game told you specifically where to go next or like what to do next. People didn't like that, or like most Metroid fans didn't like that. I did, because if you're going around some of these environments, or if you stop playing the game for a day or two, and then you go back to it, you're like, what the hell was I doing, or where was I going next? You know. This game does have kind of a you can talk to like your ship basically, and it will tell you kind of where to go. But like, think about, you played Shadow Complex, right? Way back in the day?
No, no, I've not.
Well, that game, like, it literally had a blue line in the map going, hey, this is where you need to go next.
Right.
You can explore if you want to. In fact, we recommend it, but this is like the next thing. Dread does not have that. It is a tad unfortunate, like, because like there are areas where you just get like stuck, or like I have no idea where to go. That happened to me like at least 2 or 3 times, and it's like I got this new ability, but I'm not sure what to do with it. Or like I've explored all the main things I think I can do, but I'm not sure what to do next. But other than that, it's really good. The combat's fun. Those EMI fights are kind of annoying, but I mean, you can just kind of brute force them. Yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit. Like, it's a nice return to form to Metroid, because we haven't had another one. We haven't had one since almost 20 years.
So, do you feel like the Emmy fights like add something that
they're definitely different? Because you go into like this, basically like an Emmy environment, or like a section of the level, and this thing is like stalking you, or you're trying to like hide away from it. You can cloak yourself, but if it's easy doing this, it doesn't actually work. And if it catches you, like, it'll grab you, and you have like one chance to like get out of it, but it's pretty finicky, so it doesn't work most of the time. But like if you die, you just respawn like right outside the room. So yeah, you can kind of just keep doing it over and over until you eventually crack it, and then you can move on. And there's only 7 of them. Like I haven't beaten the game yet, but I think I've faced at least 5 of them. Like I beat 5 or 6.
Okay.
Like if I wanted to finish the game, I could do it within like an hour. So like I'm very close to the end, I think. But the regular boss fights are more interesting. Like, they're pretty good.
So, is there any like returning? Would you say like boss fights, or are they all kind of?
Kratos is back. Kratos is the big one. he's like the really big thing that you face in like Super Metroid. Although he's slightly different in this one. He's like more upgraded. I think that's about it. Actually, I don't think the other thing is back. Oh, what's his name? The big the big space pirate guy. What is it?
How do you feel about, like, are there any like powers that are different than, say, some of
So
the?
they kind of simplified things a little. You have you only have missiles. You don't. I mean, you get super missiles kind of, but they're basically just an upgrade to the missiles. Like you only switch between like your regular shot and missiles. And you have like a grapple beam, but it's a little. It's okay, but they just kind of equip it to a different button, and no, I mean it's used more for like pulling boxes around than than actually grappling blocks. You get some abilities like you get the cloak, and you get this like sonar radar thing that like reveals hidden blocks. It's like a replacement for the X-ray scope in Super Metroid, and they both basically take energy. And that recharges after after a few seconds of not using it. But that's like I would say like the newest mechanic. You have the regular stuff like a speed booster. You get like this weird double jump that's not effective at all or very limited. But yeah, that's about it.
Well, that's kind of distressing. I'm always a big double jump fan in games, so.
Well, the timing is very weird, and you can't like use it from a standing position. You have to like be at like a turning arc or like spinning in the air for you to like use it again. And when you first get it, you're underwater, and it's like, oh, you can't use it past like you don't have the gravity suit, so you're slow underwater, and it's like, oh, you can't use it past your initial jump height, and it asks you to do this like double jump on this platform that like I was at it for 5 minutes, and I even looked it up on a video. I'm like, am I supposed to actually make this, or I have nowhere else to go? And it was like, oh yeah, you just got to hold you just got to jump and like wait a few seconds to do it again. I'm like, oh okay.
All right. I mean, anything else about the game that you?
I mean, it's probably my Switch game of the year. But yeah, at the moment I paused it because I had to finish up Lost Judgment, and now I'm doing something else. But I'm gonna get back to it soon. Like I said, I'm like an hour or two away from finishing it, I think. It's also interesting because like the game, most Metroid games, you start off at like the outer of the planet, like the planet crust, and you go deep into it. This game, you start inside the planet, and like the whole point is to get outside of your ship.
Oh, okay, so it's a little bit different than.
Yeah, and I will say it is slightly weird in the game that Samus doesn't talk at all. She has like one sequence where she talks in like the Chozo language as like some alien language. That's it.
Right.
And it's not that like she should be talking all the time, like that would be dumb also, but she has like it just makes it seem really strange when she's like talking to the computer and like she doesn't say anything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like,
but it is. I mean, it is very much it is like an old classic style Metroid game. So if you like those old games, you'll like this one for sure. The biggest difference is probably that melee attack thing, like the counter system.
yeah.
Because most enemies, when they attack you, they kind of flash yellow before they attack you, and that's like you're assigned to melee them real quick, and like you counter their attack, and then you can like one shot anything once you do that.
All right. I mean, at least there's some progression there. I mean,
And then you get like a whole bunch of energy and missiles from doing that. So, which is good because Samus like is pretty fragile in the game, or at least in this one. Like you don't like Super Metroid. At a certain point, you can get like 12 energy tanks, or something. Even like reserve tanks too. In this game, I've got like 5, and that's about it. Maybe 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they don't give you a lot to roll with there.
Yeah. And yeah, you're traveling between different environments in the planet, and like double backing and backtracking once you get like, oh, I got the charge beam or I got the bomb for the ball and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a Metroid game.
Well, there. I mean, so how do you feel like it? It looks, compared to. I mean, a lot of people make a. I mean, obviously, you don't have the OLED to be able to really,
Well, I'm
talk
not
about.
unlike what Kotaku suggests. I'm not pirating it, which is nice.
Yeah,
No, it looks
which
good.
they're now getting their subs sued by Nintendo for that.
Oh, fun!
So.
I didn't see that, but that's probably a good idea.
Or well, at least Nintendo's like going after them, making them kind of feel the heat for that. Yeah.
That's justifiable. Yeah. It looks fine. Like it's not like the most technical powerhouse in the world, and obviously like it's very. I mean, I don't want to say this negatively, but it's more limited in scale than like Mario Odyssey or Zelda Breath of the Wild, because it's a 2D game,
Right. Exactly.
or primarily at least. But yeah, it looks really nice, and like the backgrounds are really like stuff's going on, and all the environments are very different, and yeah, like the frame rate holds up fine, I think. But this is where you and I might differ. I don't care about like 4K. Like the game wouldn't look that much better with that,
Well, yeah, but it's not made for that either because
Right.
Switch can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, so like that was the thing. It's like you pretty much played it on the TV, right?
Yeah.
So
no
thoughts on it. Handheld.
I imagine it wouldn't be great with on handheld, especially when you're like trying to like figure out or do like certain maneuvers or stuff like that. Like I'm playing it with the Switch joypad, the good controller, the pro controller,
right?
And doing some moves even on that thing are hard. So I can only imagine how much harder it would be with the Joy-Cons.
Did you see the David Jaffe poke at it? He said there's bad game design because he couldn't get through something or
I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Did you have any moments where you like got stuck or?
Like I said, there are moments where like you just hit a wall where it's like I don't know where to go next, and usually you can just do that, like solve it by like blasting apart the wall or blasting apart some ceiling or floor or something like that. But like it's hard in that respect. It's like one of the old style Metroid games, like Super Metroid.
Yeah.
So that's clearly their inspiration, at least to a large extent. And yeah, I'm sure they could have added like a guideline that like Shadow Complex had, or something like that, but they didn't want to.
But like you said, they didn't. A lot of people didn't like that from Fusion.
Yeah, Metroid Fusion. So
I mean, they could have added that as an option.
Yeah, or like their kids mode, or like not. Well, I hesitate to say easy mode, but it would have been nice.
Yeah, I mean, it does help when you're like just trying to play through it and all that. So
yeah.
Anything else you wanna?
Yeah.
Mention about the game or?
No, I'm not about that game. I have other games I've been playing now.
Yes, go ahead. I know you have been playing that Alan Wake remaster.
Yeah, I only hit chapter 2 so far. It's Alan Wake. Like it feels slightly weird to play it on a PS5 controller, compared to like the 360 one I used to play on. The one I don't want to say this is a negative, but it would have been nice if this was like, because this is Alan Wake Remastered, I think that's what they're calling it. And it would have been nice if it was more of a collection, because there's a lot of like ancillary Alan Wake crap that could have included in this game, but they didn't. Like American Nightmare.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, maybe that's they didn't want to. They wanted to keep it a budget price. So if you add all that stuff, then you will have to charge the $50 or $60.
I mean, yeah, but Alan Wake American Nightmare. I mean, that's such a even if it was like $5 or $10 more, it would have been, I think, worth it because you would have gotten the whole experience. Or there's like I think there's an Alan Wake prequel like web show. This was like from like 10 years ago when Alan Wake first came out.
Right.
It's like, put that in the game, or you probably own that, or whoever does, doesn't care anymore. Like,
I mean, don't know if Microsoft perhaps owns that or not Remedy.
I don't think they do. Like, that's the weird thing. I think someone else does. But yeah, Alan Wake's still cool. I actually see, this is weird. I actually think it's kind of a negative they took out the product placement because it makes the game seem like more artificial now.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, like the
Energizer
it doesn't
batteries.
feel as
or like the Ford Focus, or the whatever car it was, or stuff like that. Like I mean, it was kind of gross, but it also added a certain amount of realism to like the original game. But yeah, it's still good. It still looks really nice, even it's an old game now, and they didn't. I mean, I'll admit they didn't do much to it. I don't think, but it seems a lot easier now. Though
I mean, you're also remastering a 360 game, not a. That's a lot harder for them to remaster.
Well, like they're remastering a 360 game, but they also did some work on it like 4 or 5 years ago when they brought it to PC.
Right.
Because I think with that, when they used the American Nightmare engine because that was like better. So I think they're just using that version probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, still good. I don't think I'll finish it for the review. I mean, I really don't need to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it holds up pretty well. Like if you want like a good atmospheric shooter, and it feels like slightly clunky, but it's just, it's of its time,
Yeah, I mean they're not gonna they didn't change the game. It's remastered, so it's the same game, just looks nicer. So if you had quirks about that game when it came out on 360, you're gonna have the same quirks. If you loved it on 360, now you can play it again and it looks nicer. So I mean, not a lot to complain about, and they kept it at, again, how many remasters and remakes come out now, and they charge you the full price. The fact that they charged you a budget price for this is actually pretty decent. For them to do. So
because I think when it launched on PC, it was like $30 too.
Yeah. I mean, but they could have easily added like a $10 tax on it to go like, well, this is on Series X and PS5, and so we gotta charge you a little bit. And I wonder if there will be a Switch tax because it's been rated for Switch twice now. So we'll see. Whenever it does wind up going there, which that's just really weird. It's one thing to like say, okay, well, it's going to PS5 now, but it's like to see that game on Switch, even though obviously it should be able to run if, I don't know how much remastering they're doing to the Switch version because it's probably not going to be running as well. But
yeah, I imagine it'll tone down like certain graphical effects or stuff like that. But I'm sure it can run fine or good enough.
Yeah, for sure.
The last game I'm playing is Lost Judgment. I finally gotten deep into that. That game's weird. Like,
well, so the first one wasn't weird?
No, the first one was like very much a Yakuza game with just like some dumb like private detective BS like glommed onto it. This game, they added Persona to it. Like they added like the schools to Persona basically in this game. Like you even have like social stats.
Oh,
like, instead of like knowledge and charm that like Persona 5 has, you have like appeal and like guts. I think that was in Persona 5 also. But like you have like appeal and other stuff. Or other like 3 other stats as well. And I said, this is strange. And you can only level them up in the school activities. So the whole crux of the main story of the game, which is you're trying to, and as with every one of these games, you're trying to uncover what seems like a simple crime that soon spirals out to complete nonsense. That like you discover half the Japanese leaders are corrupt or something like that. But in this game, you get like roped into being an outside advisor to like the Mystery Research Club, which is like so goofy on its face that I kind of disliked it. And then you
just the name already makes it sound like it's funny.
Yeah, it's like they're running around in the Mystery Machine with Scooby Doo, you know.
I love that.
But like the student running it, she basically tasks you with like investigating and joining all these other school clubs that.
Right.
Yeah, you're like supposed to join them all and find out like if they're dirty or not. So like, yeah, you join like the dancing club, and the dancing club, the mini game is basically the karaoke mini game from Yakuza,
right?
But they don't want to use karaoke because they don't want to have that guy singing. So he's dancing instead. Or like esports, you join like the esports club and like you just play rounds of Tekken or Virtua Fighter 5.
Hey, well, there you go.
And like you get like you get experience for your social stats like teamwork and focus and stuff like that. And then you're also like locked out like, oh, to progress the dancing mini club you need to have like a appeal level of 3 and you only have 2. But it's weird. Like it's like bizarre in a sense. I really like it, but it's just so disconnected from the main game. It's like insane.
So it doesn't feel like when you do those like side quests in Yakuza where they're just like so nuts that you're just all right.
No, well, no. It gets to that to an extent. Like there are some mini games or some clubs in this thing that are like really goofy. Like boxing in particular is just like hilarious. And the worst one is robotics. Like you have to do these like weird BattleBot matches where you're trying to like take control of squares, and it's like awful. But they still have like the regular like side quests as well in the game. They're not as prevalent, but they're still in there.
Okay, so like they just added like a whole another arc of stuff in there.
Like I would say, like this school stuff is like 50% of the game, and it seems optional. Like I don't think you have to do it, but like at this point, I'm kind of invested in doing it now. So it's like, why not?
Well, hey, I mean, that's good that something they added it made you actually want to keep doing it.
Well, except for like when the mini game is bad, like robotics.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, that's a cool game. That's pretty good.
If you're watching on video, we just got to the part where Marc is talking about with these school stories.
Yeah, so it's like so weird, and like I mean, even the school is like laid out like the Persona 5 school, and I'm wondering like are all Japanese schools just have the same layout or what?
Well, I mean, if you watch enough anime, there's show the robotics thing too. Like,
but Jens keeps talking about how it's based on some anime I never heard of before that no one has heard of except for him.
I might have heard of it. If you probably don't know the name offhand, do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Like I said, it's really interesting, but it's just so divorced from like the main game. It's like so. I love it for that, but you don't have to do any of it, really. I don't think, or like the bare minimum if you really want to.
Well, that's good. I mean, I like it when you have side stuff, but it's not like so integral to the point where he's doing skateboarding. It's great.
There's like a really bad skateboarding mini game.
Yeah. I just saw Sonic fighting with Knuckles. I guess that's one of the.
That's an arcade game. Yeah, Sonic the Fighters is in the game, which is awesome because that's a terrible game, but I kind of love it.
But I mean,
They did fix one of the problems of the first. Like, they took out a lot of stuff from the first game, or they didn't take it out, but they just so de-emphasized it, so it doesn't really matter. Like, drone racing is just like gone. And it's like, thank Christ, because that was terrible. But what else? Yeah, I think that's about it for me. How about you? You beat something finally?
Yes, I've took a deep dive, and I've been fortunate to be able to. Go ahead.
No. Well, I didn't play them yet, but I bought two cool games that I showed you. I finally picked up a copy of Africa on the PS3.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's something I wanted to play for. I want to play that thing for years. And I got a copy of Persona 1 Revelations for PS1.
I saw that, yes, and that picture that you took of your find.
Yeah.
How much did that?
So the price tag was $330, and with tax it'd be about $350, give or take.
Yeah.
I paid about $65 for it.
Wow! How did you get them down to that much?
I traded in a whole bunch of crap, like movies, Blu-rays and stuff, and that was like $240. And then I also had a 20% off coupon.
And there you go. See,
I did the same thing. I did the same thing with Africa. Like I traded in like 5 or 6 games that I was either done playing or will never play again. So it's like, here you go.
Right.
But yeah, I'm happy to have Persona 1, and like it's like pristine.
Hey, there you go. See, nice find for you on there. Will you ever actually take it out and play it, or?
I might. Yeah, I have a PS1, so why not?
I've heard those games are.
I know that game's like hard. Like it's not like how it is now, or
Yeah, they're different. I remember playing a bulk of one on an emulator, and I was like, well, this is definitely not what I'm used to, but all right. You can get some of the where this comes from there, definitely.
Yep. So how'd you like Tales of Arise?
I loved it. Like I said, I've been able to work from home for like the past week and a half because I haven't had a car and be able to go to the office. So I've been able to like take advantage and be able to play when it gets slow. And man, it's been the thing was that like that last part felt like it took forever. I was just like, God, how many more freaking corridors? How many more of these rooms are there? And then you get to the last battle, and it's what you expect. I just like the gameplay is great. The battle system's terrific. I mean, we've talked about it I think enough on the various episodes, but I really like the way that they do the story, and it really helps that all the characters are really good in this game. There's none of them that like, oh my God, he's so annoying. Please get him off my screen or get her off my screen. Like they all like coalesce well, and even though they come from different places, like they all kind of haven't. Yeah,
that's a benefit of having a pretty limited cast. I think by design, obviously, but yeah,
of course. When you don't have 50 characters that you're having to like get mesh into one party, when you're having like the same party pretty much throughout most of the game, yes, that helps a lot. But I think it's also like they're very consistent in this game of we have a theme, we're going to talk about it the entire time, even when shit goes like way until where we're going into like outer space and stuff like that. I mean, it still remains consistent. So I appreciated that because a lot of times the JRPG stories, especially, like they start losing the plot. They start like, did you get halfway through and it just becomes about something else, and you're like, well, I kind of liked what the first half was about. Now you kind of made it about the same junk that all JRPGs are about, and it's not. Yeah,
you'll hate me for saying this, but that's like that's one of the reasons I didn't like Final Fantasy VII back in the day.
No, I'm not gonna hate you for saying. I can understand that.
Because like initially, like oh, you're part of the plucky rebel group trying to take on the big company. It's like, okay, that's cool. And then like after the first disc, it deals with Sephiroth, and it's like, wait, what's this? And then it goes into nonsense at a certain point.
Oh yeah, I mean, it definitely does get nonsensical eventually, but I feel like they also kind of redeem it with some of the Cloud and Sephiroth and all of that eventually. But I just appreciated that. Like, Tales of Arise has your story about slavery and how you overcome that, and everybody kind of has their story with that as well. That's different, regardless of where they come from, and I really do think that that's a positive for it's even Bandai Namco themselves. Obviously, these are different teams working on them, but you look at just Scarlet Nexus this year, how like crazy anime that gets, or just other games that they come out with in general. Like those are the ones that are like, all right, this was something cool, but this held its ground the entire time. I was always wanting to go into the next battle because the gameplay is great, but I didn't want to skip the story scenes either, and I appreciated all those characters. And I think just a lot of stuff about this game was very well done. Even the fishing that you talked about last time, that's fun too. It took me a while to get kind of a hang of it.
Yeah, but it's not. They don't like I said last time. They don't explain it at all. But once you look up a guide and it's like, okay, now I get this.
I just kind of fiddled around with it, and then I figured out, okay, this is making this kind of fish come faster to where my line is, and then this kind of fish, if you press this, does as opposed to the other one. So it just takes a little bit of fiddling with it to figure it out.
It's funny here when you talked about it because you had a lot more problems in the game than I did.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it was just more of like, I guess I was when I first got to that last area, I was level like 44. But by the time I got to the first time where I went backwards, I was at like 52 or something like that, because you level up a lot in that last area because of all the major big enemies you have to fight constantly. And it's so funny, they make a big deal about the that last like race that you meet at the end. Yeah. And then the enemies that represent that race are probably the weakest enemies you fight in that entire area that are there, which is funny.
Yeah.
But no, I just had issues because I was like, I don't want to have to go backwards and try to sell a bunch of stuff to get enough items and all that stuff. I was like trying to just power through, and I was able to do it for that second one, and just, all right, I'll just work back, buy the stuff I need to, and then go on. And then apparently the final boss was actually really not that difficult. So
no, I found it pretty easy.
It's one of those games where, well, you had to try hard enough already. Let's give you a break.
I had more problems with some of the optional bosses than like the main boss.
Yeah, I didn't do any of I was like, well, I might go back and do some of the stuff later. But I just wanted to kind of get done with the game because I also have to review it as well. I know your review's up there on 4-on-1. You gave it a 9. That's where I was headed with it. So I will probably not write as much as you did, but still a very good review.
At least that review stuck, unlike my last Judgment review.
I know. I hate hearing that you didn't get the autosave did not kick in and you had to rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah, that's always fun. Way to go, Windows update.
Yeah, I don't have that. I'm one of those, I think, also that I don't have that drive or whatever that you need to upgrade to Windows 11.
Yeah, so, I think your computer actually could. Mine can't. I don't have the right. My CPU is like one generation out of date. But
I'm not gonna mess with it. I don't really need it or nothing.
Yeah.
So,
and I've heard like a lot of like mixed things on it also. So yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about FIFA later with the news. There's not really anything new that I need to talk about, but I've been kind of playing that a little bit more so I can do the review. The one game that I haven't played that technically comes out on Wednesday. Sorry. So it's called Echo Generation. It actually comes to Game Pass as well. It's an indie game set in the 90s. It has like a Minecraft look to it. Not as much as I would say, like, if you've seen any kind of video or trailer for Moonglow Bay, tongue twister at 2 a.m. here, which actually got delayed to like the end of this month. Also coming to Game Pass. That kind of has a much more like Minecrafty look. This has the sort of like that blocky look like Minecraft, but it also has its own sort of art style to it. It's a turn-based RPG, and you are basically a brother and sister that have to deal with some. It has a lot of like Stranger Things vibes to it. There's crazy stuff happening. There's stuff that keeps happening in this town, and you find out things little by little. And you're also solving like puzzles in a way because you have to find things to get items that you need to be able to progress the story. You get skills with comic books that you find, and so you'll eventually get more weapons that way. So there's actually, if anybody wants to go look, by the time this is up, there is people can start posting video of like through chapter 1 of the game. And then, of course, once the reviews go live on the 20th on Wednesday, you'll probably start seeing video of the other areas. There's a lot of boss fights in this game, which are very interesting as far as like just rather eclectic, a bunch of, none of it has to do with anything of it. It's just kind of all there. I do have like, I played a big chunk of it. The problem is I have no idea like what I'm actually like doing, because it just seems like you go to an area, there's a boss, and then, okay, well, I guess I'm supposed to beat this boss because there's nothing else for me to find in this entire school that I go into, or this entire like junkyard that I go into. So, well, let me beat this boss. And at first it's not so easy to do, because when you level up your characters, it gives you 3 options when you level up a character. So you can level up their health, you can level up their skill points, which are what allow you to do the special moves that go along with the comic that you get for whatever weapon you have. And then also it allows you to level up the like attack power, the strength. So that decides like how powerful those moves are. And you also have like a regular move that doesn't cost any SP either. But also your skill points are shared between your team of 3. So it's like a thing that you have to constantly go back to of like, do I want to build up my skill points? Do I want to build up my health? Like, if I don't build up my health, then I have to go buy more healing items before I go fight this boss that I'm supposed to go fight, so yeah, it's like almost like a survival game in a way too, because you don't have a lot of things to, you don't get a lot of money. There's only certain things that get you money, and fighting the rats or other things that are around don't get you a lot. It's fighting the bosses that get you a lot of money. Yeah. So you have to, yeah.
There are games like that where it's just like, why even do any fight like the little guys, because it doesn't really matter.
Well, it does, because you need to level up your character, because if not, you're going to get destroyed by the boss. Because the other thing is, it also has a blocking mechanic. I guess the most recent thing I can think of is Yakuza, where you can press a button at the exact time and either block the attack or just diminish the amount of what it can do, right? So you have to kind of be paying attention because some attacks will be slow, and if you do it too fast, you also get the full brunt of the damage. And if so it's a lot. And you also have like a pet companion. So I've had a cat for the most part, and then I got the dog, and so they have their pluses and minuses. Obviously, the cat can heal you. The dog will dig and find items for you. So, and there's a robot that you'll eventually get as well, but you have to find the items that you need in order to be able to build the robot again. So, but yeah, I mean, it's been an interest. It's like there's a lot of good stuff in there, and just kind of like some interesting things that they've added to that game as far as like the characters and all of that. But man, it just feels like a lot of disparate things together because it's like aliens attacked our town, but you don't really know how far I am, how far have I really progressed the story.
Yeah.
You know? So that's my problem is this is all great, but I don't really know if I'm, because it like there'll be a story piece, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll do 3 things that have nothing to do with that story piece that will then start another story piece. And all right, whatever. But it's also like set in a time period where you can kind of see the movies that it's supposed to be like taking from and all of that. So there is that as well. But yeah, so be ready for. Actually, I'm sorry. The embargo lifts on Wednesday. The game actually comes out on Thursday, the 21st. But yeah, if you've heard anything about Echo Generation or whatever, I've been enjoying it. There's hopefully I'll get further into it. There's a lot of exploration in this game too. So that's another thing about it is that it really wants you to travel. It really wants you to like find stuff. And so like there's so many times where I go, okay, it's gonna block that off for me. And it actually doesn't unless we go to the next screen and find and go through more. And I'm just like, wow, they really want you to go through and figure out till you go to a dead end. So yeah, that's another reason why sometimes I'm just kind of like, well, I'm just gonna keep doing this, I guess, until I figure out what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. But been enjoyable so far.
Good.
So be looking forward to my review for that by the time we get to the next show, that should be out there. But all right. So there's not been a ton of news here, but there has the one big story kind of like happened earlier in the week when they had the Animal Crossing Direct. Of course, I'm talking about Nintendo here. In the Nintendo Switch expansion, the online expansion, it's more expensive than I thought it was going to be, and way more expensive than you thought it was going to be, Mark. It is $50 a year, putting it just $10 less than PS Plus and Xbox Live Gold, or if you just have the Xbox Live or Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, pay the $15 a month, and you can get almost 4 months of that for the price of the 1 year for the Switch Online. Now, Nintendo hasn't come and said anything about it, but there have been reports that there's licensing that is causing why this is the increase. But I feel like some of this could have been avoided, Mark. Like, I think we talked about it when it was announced, but if part of your licensing is the Sega games, why do you need even? I get it that there's some, I guess, online co-op that's added that perhaps isn't in the Mega Collection or whatever that's already on Switch. But I mean, did you really need to add SEGA Genesis games in order to entice people to pay that extra money? I mean, like, I don't know. I think adding Game Boy or GBA games along with the 64 could have just been good enough.
I think the problem is SEGA Genesis games are already have been out there for years in other collections,
Right.
be it physical, like the Genesis Mini, or games or other services and stuff like that. That's an issue. Yeah, I would actually much rather have a Game Boy, even an original Game Boy, but
Right.
Game Boy Advance for sure. If they said like, oh, we're putting out 10 GBA games in this thing, and we'll keep adding more later on, but let's do this. It'd be nice if they went with more a la carte model. Like, hey, if you want N64, it's $10 extra, but if you want Genesis, it's $15.
I mean, I think that's kind of what they're doing, right? It is an a la carte. You don't have to have this and also have Switch Online.
You can't just get N64 though,
Right. That is true.
I think it's too much. I don't know about you, but
no, it is. This. So as someone that doesn't, I don't even subscribe to the regular Switch Online.
Because I think I do, because I think it's just like $20. So why not? But yeah,
right. But I don't. So I also should note that the Animal Crossing DLC is also included in this. So if you're an Animal Crossing fan and you play it a lot, then you get that DLC for free. I wonder what happens if you decide to unsubscribe from Expansion Pass. Do you then have to go buy the DLC separately then?
Or if you even can.
I think you can. You definitely can, because they can't.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, look, I'm not going to say it's great to be able to go and play, these games again. And it's cool that for preservation standpoint, you can play them. And then also you have the online play, right? So like Star Fox, Mario Kart, yeah.
That sounds neat, but also remember that like most of the Switch Online infrastructure is shit.
Right. And that's my issue. It's not necessarily that you're charging for old games, because that's Nintendo. That's what they're going to do. And if they charge $50, doesn't necessarily surprise me, because Nintendo's going to charge what they can. I don't know how much of that is necessarily the licensing. I don't know how much Microsoft charged them to have Banjo-Kazooie on there and then not take it off. So like you're having it on there the life of the system, because we haven't really seen things get added to Switch Online and then get taken off, aside from the Tetris 99, or I think it's only the Mario one that got taken off, right? The Mario 35.
Yeah.
So
although I fully expect that like once the license expires with Pac-Man, that's gone.
Yeah, probably. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's probably gone too. Even though Nintendo and Bandai have a good relationship, so
yeah,
perhaps that's a little bit different. But again, to go back to my point, you can still pay $20 for Switch Online, and then have Switch Online if you want, just to play regular. My bigger thing is, why on earth does your family membership need to go up almost $50 by itself a year? Like, the whole point is it's supposed to be a little bit of a discount. That's not a discount.
Yeah.
You're almost charging a full amount to have all of that available as a family plan. That seems a bit much there. I don't know. I mean, look, again, like it's a shrewd business move by Nintendo, because people are going to pay for it. Look at the 64 controllers went out, and then one day, bam, it's gone. Nostalgia is a seller if there ever is one. Look, I'm not going to go back, because 64 is not necessarily my favorite time period for games. So as much as I like Pokemon Snap, the original, and Mario Kart on 64, and Super Mario 64, which, hey, they charge you $60 for that game, and now you get it as part of this. So that's also Nintendo doing their thing there too. I mean, you're somebody that collects
Yeah.
games. I mean, isn't this nice to be able to have these games available and not have to pay like out the butt for them
I mean,
secondhand?
kind of, but like most of these games are pretty common. And then also, I'm curious how well the emulation is going to handle, at least for the N64 stuff, because even now, like modern emulators, like the N64 isn't quite up
Right.
there. I mean, I'm sure Nintendo probably knows what they're doing because they built the damn thing, but you never know. There might be like some small problems with it. I mean, it's nice, but I don't think there's a huge draw, at least for like N64 stuff. I mean, yeah, how many times can you play through like Star Fox 64? Like 3 or 4. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I envision that most people, outside of like maybe Mario Kart which, I mean, you already have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I mean, I don't know. Why would you want to
I mean,
play that out? Yeah.
I would much rather play Mario Kart 64 than Mario Kart 8, personally.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I might like getting it, be able to play like Sin and Punishment is sort of enticing to me, because it used to be stuck on the Wii eShop or whatever. But I think for the most part, it's a nice thing to have. I mean, obviously, you don't have to buy this if you don't want to. You don't have to pay this if you think it's too much. But the thing is, Nintendo won't really necessarily learn their lesson, and it makes you feel. I think there's gonna be a lot of people that get guilted into this because they'll feel like, okay, well, if I do want Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance or GameCube games, I'm gonna have to buy this, because if you don't and this flops, then they won't release those games
right.
eventually. So you needed to keep. I mean, they're doing this obviously because they want revenue from Switch Online, right? And this helps them because they're going to have Splatoon 3 later. They're going to have more games that are online focused. But the thing is, you're not really improving the back end, right? You're not making voice chat easier to use. You're not.
Yeah, that was a modern vintage gamer put up a video about this, and yeah, he said the same thing. Like voice chat's not in this. Even like text chat isn't in it.
Yeah.
The speeds are abysmal, like to download. Like,
Right.
I think he did a speed test, and like the Switch operates at like 75 Mbps, which is slow.
Right.
That's like 9 megabytes per second to download. And his Xbox was like 400, which is like 50 megabytes or 50 or 60 megabytes to download a second.
But we talk about Xbox One or Xbox?
Xbox Series X.
Okay, well that's that. You can't compare that. That's not.
But even like the PS4, I think was like 230 megabytes, and that that's like.
I never got that high with the PS4. PS4 was slow.
I occasionally did, or like it depends. But like my PS5,
Xbox, I'd sometimes get up to 100 or whatever.
Well, that's the thing with the new Switch is it has the hardwired dock, or the Ethernet dock. So people are like, oh,
right.
maybe that's like, oh, over the Wi-Fi the Switch is terrible, but over the the hard line it's fine. But no, it's the same speed. So it's like, why have the dock, or like why have that port in it if it's the same damn?
Because it creates a more stable connection, I guess, when you are online, not necessarily the speed.
But yeah, like slow download speeds, and then like the playing online, unless it's for like Mario Kart or Splatoon or Smash Brothers, it's terrible.
I mean, and even then, it's not always great for some of those as well. So.
Yeah, like Mario Maker 2 still does not work. And it's like, well, it's only been 4 years or 3 years for that game. Like, nice now you're still working on it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how Mario Party plays now online with.
Yeah, that also won't work well, I don't think.
Yeah, for me this is. I mean, I think Nintendo's getting saved a lot by the fact that somebody came out with that licensing cost thing because I think they'd
I
be
mean,
getting railed if that wasn't
it
for
makes
that.
sense, especially because I think didn't she say that like Sega wasn't happy with the Wii U?
Yeah, no,
Like,
they
I mean,
weren't. They were not happy with the Wii U virtual console, which is why they were not part of it.
Yeah.
They didn't like the revenue sharing or the cost of things. So Nintendo paid them a lot of money to be part of this.
I guess the problem is it's like who cares about Genesis games anymore? Even if it was online play, like that's not a huge draw. Like if it was Sega Saturn or Sega Dreamcast, that'd be a whole different ballpark. I would pay $30 if I could get some Dreamcast games in this thing and online play and looked good. But Sega Genesis, like I get to play Echo the Dolphin again. Great. Did you see that crazy story about the Sega Saturn emulator?
No, what happened?
So some company released a few Sega Saturn emulated games on the Switch, like legally, like I think they're like $15 or $20. They're just emulated games. People found a way to basically dump the game or dump the emulator, and you can replace the ROM file with any Sega Saturn game.
Oh wow!
And not every game works, but most of them do. So yeah, you just load up this emulator and just play Sega Saturn games.
Nice. Wonder if Nintendo will touch that at all.
Well, I mean, it's only for like modded Switches, like which you and I can both do. But like, it's still cool. Like, hell, why not?
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing too, right? Is although I have fond memories playing 64 with my family, with all 4 controllers on the console and everything else, and they are putting games in there that I enjoyed. I don't know. For me, that's just I already pay for PS Plus and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Game Pass Ultimate I pay monthly because that $180 a year is it's a bit too much for me. But like to then I just know myself. I know myself, and I know that I will not go back and play these games. So why even bother paying the amount of money? So and like I don't even play the NES, the Super NES. To be fair, I mean the catalog there is not great, especially lately.
Again, it's just like you and I have so many different ways to play SNES games.
Yeah,
both legally and not legally. That this is so immaterial.
Right. Like I said, I do appreciate the fact that it exists, based only on now you have a legal way to play a lot of these games.
Yeah,
that's not forking over a bunch of money and then also having to buy a 64 and have that stocked in your house, and maybe doesn't really work with your TV, or you have to buy some kind of third party thing that converts it to HDMI and whatever.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have that hassle. It will then now just work on your Switch, and that's cool. And you can also take that with you, right? Take your Switch with you and play those games, and that's cool. If you want to pay for that, great. Do I think Nintendo is charging way too much for this? Hell yes, they are. It should be like $35 at the most, and you get your 64 Genesis games. And if you want to add more games later and make that $50 or $60, cool. If we had, GameCube, GBA, Game Boy Color, if you don't want to add any more Sega stuff, cool, whatever. If that's all on there and you're going to tell me it was $60 a year, okay, sure. I'm down with that. I'll pay that, or I think that's fair. But man,
Rystar demands his money, so that's why it's $50 a month or $50 a year.
Like, and then to top on that, like Nintendo's the only one of these companies that has a family plan, which is really all these companies should have that. It's stupid that you have to go and buy multiple versions of Game Pass or multiple versions of PS Plus for the same household.
Well,
yeah.
Didn't Microsoft have a family plan? Did they ditch it?
No, they had an idea to have a family plan, and they ditched it. They have the thing you can do where and I think PlayStation has this as well, where one person. Now this only works for your own games, but for Game Pass it doesn't work. I would have to get, like, let's say Anaya, I'd have to get her own Game Pass on her profile in order for her to play Game Pass games.
Yeah.
Now, as far as like games that I already own, as long as she's connected to the internet, which is all the time, she could play any game that I have on her profile. But it would be so much easier if all these companies adopted a family plan, but obviously they don't want a chunk taken out of their revenues. And as we saw, Microsoft got KO'd for that when they tried to double the price. I will say I do appreciate that Nintendo is not forcing the upgrade on everybody. They could have easily said, okay, well, Switch Online costs $50 now, and you're getting all of this stuff, so you better like it. They didn't do that. It's an optional thing. Yeah, it's an optional thing that you don't have to necessarily buy. So, yeah, I don't think Nintendo's necessarily doing right by people with the price, but at least they're giving you an option, which is at least that you get a middle ground there with that.
Yeah.
So, because if you look at it, like Microsoft could have easily charged $5 more for Game Pass when they said they were adding EA Play, and they didn't do that, right? And so that's a positive on that end. But Nintendo, man, I'm almost worried now if they add more consoles, are they going to jack up the price again?
I think it depends. I think it would depend on the consoles and the games they want to add. Like if it was GBA and like all their Nintendo shit, probably not. Or at least it'd be like a minor fee. But if it was like, oh, we're adding TurboGrafx 16 games and all these like weird license shit, then it's like, all right, well, I got
and that's kind of what I understand of it is like it wouldn't necessarily be as enticing if you don't have like the Konami and Capcom and all the other company stuff, right?
Or if they somehow did add Dreamcast games, it's like, well, they could add. Obviously, they'd probably add like a lot of Sega stuff, assuming it was like a nominal cost. But if they added like, oh, here's Soul Calibur, or here's Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it's like, okay, this is gonna be expensive now.
Well, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the way they jack up that price crazy amounts. So
yeah,
I don't know about that. Is that worth?
Well, yeah, but just as like a light, or like here's Cannon Spike, or here's other weird shit.
But all right, moving away from Switch Online expansion to perhaps another expansion of a different way, an expansion for FIFA out to other developers, because right now there is a breakup happening. It's almost like the marriage is dissolving right before your eyes between EA and FIFA. Of course, I'm talking about the actual big brand, the Federation, the governing body of soccer or football and the other parts of the world. EA has actually been really shrewd about what they're doing. They have made contracts with all of the other clubs and associations, and they've actually renewed their whole contract with FIFPro, which has the licenses to all of the players. So they won't have a problem like with the college football, right, where they had to stop that game because there was the dispute between licenses and all that. And to be fair, there was Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Gareth Bale, and a few others did try to do the same thing, but that was squashed. The thing here is FIFA's basically, they want more money. It's the same reason why they're trying to get a biennial World Cup right now. They want more money. So they wanted $2.5 billion per every 4 years that they had the contract with EA. EA was like, hell no, not paying that. And now FIFA's like, oh, we're going to go and explore NFTs and other things with our brand and our thing here. And we want to work with mobile companies and everything else, which, to be fair, you couldn't do that with EA because it was about having the one big FIFA game a year and trying to sell that. And so I can understand FIFA in a way, but they're really just taking a shot at EA here. EA doesn't want to pay what FIFA says, so FIFA's like, all right, we're open to working with other people, right? You could see other people now, right? Well, let's have a break. We're gonna separate for right now, and they don't even mention FIFA 22, which just came out less than a month ago, and I'm sure it's selling well. It didn't sell well enough in the U.S. to upset Madden, but a heck of a lot of other games didn't do that either. So, I mean, I know you don't care about this at all, Mark. So, but
I mean, it's interesting, but I think, what is? It's not like even if FIFA suddenly, if the FIFA, company, not company, but like group said we're terminating the contract today, what are they going to do? Like they can't. It's like they can't get another developer or another company to make a soccer game within a year. What are they going to do?
Maybe Konami could do it with the football.
No, right, they can't. They clearly can't, obviously.
Well, I mean, they could add on to the whatever they already have, and then add the FIFA license onto it, which would help them. Well, it wouldn't help them with the World Cup that's coming, right? Because EA still has the license through the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, which is actually not being played until November of 2022 because of the weather patterns in Qatar. It gets extremely hot in the summer to like 120 something degrees. So it was deemed not playable for the teams and players. So they're playing it in the winter. What is the winter here? So beyond that, it would help Konami in that you have the FIFA name, right? And so you legally have the rights to all of the international teams, but and then the FIFA brand and everything. Yeah,
that doesn't matter because eFootball is shit.
I agree.
That, I assume even if like the FIFA company or like I said, the brand or whatever wanted to go with Konami, they wouldn't do it because their game is terrible.
I don't know. Would they? Would they just do it just to? Well, if Konami wanted to pay what they are asking,
they assume that they wouldn't do that in the first place, also, but they probably see themselves as a premier, pardon the pun, name or organization.
Well, technically they are.
Well, they're not going to associate with some piece of shit like eFootball.
No, but okay. Here's the thing, though. It's for one, Konami's not going to pay what they're asking.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know who would. I mean, really.
Well, even if Activision is like, okay, we got into bed with FIFA. We're gonna make a football game. That's at least 2 to 3 years out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The only one that could do it within a certain time frame and basically just be adding the FIFA branding to what the game that already exists would be Konami. Anybody else would have to make a game from scratch, which would, like you said, it would be 2 to 3 years down the line that you have something. Now, if they're going to have a mobile version, that could possibly come out faster because there's obviously less work involved in that. But still, the only companies I could really see even thinking about matching that would be Activision or Take-Two, perhaps, to add on to the other.
Yeah, 2K.
Yeah, 2K, Take-Two going in and saying, okay, well, we have the basketball, we have the WWE, even though that doesn't necessarily do that great for us. Let's add the soccer, and we're going to have the FIFA. We're going to have the official FIFA game. Now, they're going to run into the same problem like Konami, where they're not going to have the licenses that FIFA has. Sorry, not FIFA, EA Sports FC or whatever the heck that game is going to be called now. So are people going to really care? Because that's the thing. You might have the FIFA name on it. And yes, FIFA has it's a name, right? We know that game as FIFA. But if you find out that you don't get to play as Mbappe or Ronaldo or Messi or whatever, people are going to be like, why am I buying this game again?
Yeah. Well, it's just like the when they made that one football game.
Like Backbreakers. Yeah.
Well, not Backbreakers. I mean, but it was the All-Star Football, like 2K8 or whatever.
That
And then,
too.
they had certain players, but that was it. It's like we didn't have the NFL brand or the current teams.
Right, exactly. And people care
So
about that.
yeah,
So
and, I made one of those, so it's like yeah, of course it didn't. No one cared. Or like you said, backbreakers, but that was more of like a
like an arcade shoot
kind
off
of. Didn't they do?
thing.
Oh, I want to say. I don't think it was Rockstar, but I think Take Two did make some other like weird football game. Or was that Backbreakers?
Yeah, it was the Backbreakers game, yeah.
Okay.
Or it has a similar name to that. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
yeah, that was Backbreaker. Yeah, I'm thinking of that. Yeah, the Euphoria engine and all that crap. Yep.
yeah. Wasn't that like one of the games that tried to do that first person mode before and then Madden put it in there?
The first game I can think of with the first person football is ESPN 2K5.
That too, yeah. I forgot about the ESPN too. Which 2K involved in that too, yeah.
Yeah, that's still a good game.
Agreed.
16 years later, that's what scared EA so much they had to like lock down Madden forever.
Yeah, because they were able to charge that like $30 less,
20.
and there you go.
20.
Bam.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like a sports game coming out for $20, that's crazy.
I mean, ultimately, I think FIFA could move away from EA, but it would hurt them so much in the short term that I don't think they would do it.
Yeah,
I mean, they're rattling their saber
here
now, but if EA was like, all right, peace, FIFA would come crawling back in a second. But we're sorry.
Yeah. I mean, like that's the thing is FIFA can say what they want, but they actually need EA more than EA needs FIFA.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I did mention that the PlayStation 5 had knocked Nintendo and the Switch off its longest running consecutive months of being the leader in units sold. That record ends at 33 months running as the PlayStation 5 now is the leader in both sales for units and consoles sold there. And then also, I mean, a lot of things were up, but obviously what you guys care about really is the games, if anything, because knowing that the PS5 sold this many units at the end of the day, it's like, well, no duh, it's going to sell. People still can't find it in a store most of the time. So I did mention that, Matt, go ahead.
I was going to say, I had a friend over Sunday, like an old college friend. I haven't seen in like years, but he walked into my room and was looking around, and he sat down, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to like play the PS5 for a second?" And he was like, "I didn't even see you had one." And then he looked at me, he was like, "Wow, that thing is massive."
Yep, it's huge. It's like once you see it, it's like, oh damn, it's that big. All right.
Because he was like, "Wow, that thing's it's like a monolith." And I'm like, "Yeah, I have my PS5 resting on top of an original Xbox, and it's almost like double the size of that thing."
You are a braver person than I. I would not do that. I have it standing up behind my TV because I don't want that thing on top of anything, just in case.
But you also
happens,
have a young daughter and a menagerie of animals running around. So of course,
no, yeah, of course, that's also part of it. But I was doing that before I had the menagerie of animals as well. So, yeah. So
the only problem with my setup is like my PS5 slides out of that stand pretty often.
Well, you have it horizontal,
flat.
right?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because it's not sitting on the stand like where the stand's putting a lot of pressure on it to sit. Yeah, I did hear about a lot of people are having that that issue with when you sit it that way. But looking at this here, it's sports games galore in the top 3: Madden, FIFA, and NBA 2K. All the top 3. Tales of Arise right underneath it. Then Diablo 2 Resurrected. So Activision and Blizzard get a little bit of help there. Deathloop right there as well. And then further down the line, you got Life is Strange. True Colors at 10. What is that? The Diablo Prime Evil Collection is also in there at 12.
Like
Wow.
Diablo
So,
2 and 3. Or,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you get Diablo 2 and 3 and just Diablo 2 Resurrected in there. And then Sonic Colors also making an appearance, and WarioWare Get It Together. So a plethora of new releases all get beat out by Madden and then other sports games as well. So shows you the power of when the sports start knocking. And of course, with the NBA starting up today, that's going to keep going.
The sports games are, no surprise, but like
Right.
Tales of Arise was kind of shocking.
No, it is. It is pretty shocking that Tales of Arise sold that well, and I'm very happy for Bandai Namco. They've released one heck of a great game, and glad that it's getting the sales response that it deserves. I mean, Diablo not necessarily a total surprise. I said it, and don't be surprised when we see Call of Duty next month as well.
Oh, yeah.
Most people have no idea what is happening at that company right now.
Yeah.
So don't get upset, right? Because you want to see Activision suffer a little bit, but also here's the problem: when you boycott the game and you don't buy the game, guess who suffers? Guess who they're gonna go and fire? They're not gonna go fire Bobby Kotick, right? Unless that lawsuit demands that he gets that he resigns. They're gonna go fire developers.
Yeah.
They're gonna go fire teams off of the game. So it's like a catch-22 of, okay, I want to boycott the game and I want to do this, but then also you're hurting those very same people that were being hurt by the company in the same way. So yeah, that kind of sucks. But yep, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if you see that Call of Duty Vanguard right up there, especially because Battlefield really looks like they need to delay it again.
Yeah.
After the beta, but who knows if EA will actually do it or not. I should have mentioned this when we talked about the game. Metroid Dread has been selling really well, especially in Japan. It has almost outsold every other installment of the game in the region, which that's pretty incredible. I mean, also it shows that Metroid apparently wasn't a big deal in Japan, but there's that too.
If you build it, they will come.
Exactly. 86,000, almost 87,000 copies during its first 3 days for the week that ended, last week. So that's pretty great.
I mean, it's the double whammy of A, it's a good game, but then also B, like the game hasn't been on they haven't made one of those in 20 years. So
yeah, that's true. That's true too.
That helps the last few Metroid properties have not been great, let's say.
Yeah.
People still, I have no real opinion. I haven't played them, but people don't like some Metroid diehards really didn't like the Prime series.
Yeah, I've heard of that as well. Several people are just like, it's not like the Metroid I remember. I don't like that it did this or that, but I feel like the Metroid Prime series, for what it was, brought something different.
That's the thing, is you have to go you have to say yeah, for what it is, it's fine, but it ain't Metroid, or not like the Metroid I want.
Right, it's not. It was supposed to be different. So at least in that respect, at least it wasn't Other M,
Yeah.
So it's something to be said for that, at least. But hey, good for Metroid that it is selling well.
Let's hope this doesn't mean they'll make another one in 20,
Yeah, let's hope we see another game much faster than that, than the 20 years. Well, you will have to wait a little bit longer, though, for one game. Elden Ring is now going to come out in February 2022 instead of January. It's February 25th. God, I feel like there's about 5 or 6 different things coming out on February 25th now. Watch some of those games move out of the way.
I think the other big one is Saints Row.
Yeah.
You know the Venn diagram for people who play those games are 1-to-1, right?
Exactly. But I can still see some games moving out of the way because it's like you don't want to get cannibalized by Elden Ring either. They're also going to have a demo coming out next month as well. I know Dark Souls is not your cup of tea or whatever. Too bad we don't have Jens on here, but
Yeah, he's chomping at the bit to play that game.
yeah, between Keith and Jens, we have to hear a lot about Dark Souls. I think for sure, if there is a demo that comes out in November, I'm sure Jens will be all over that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean that's good. That's good that they're doing that. It's good that they're gonna let people play that game before it comes out
And
to make sure.
It'll be hacked to hell from like data miners and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it will. That's no surprise at all.
The whole game will be leaked by like that weekend.
Oh yeah. But hey, that's the price you pay though when you do those demos. You're gonna lose a little bit of something. But you can also put stuff in there that maybe doesn't make it into the game or whatnot too. So there's that possibility. Epic is getting countersued now by Google. So not only do they have to deal with Apple, they have to deal with Google because they decided to, they were removed from the Google Play Store. And so Epic was unhappy with those, anti-competitive restrictions and everything else. Epic, having kind of went after Google there, but Google is also saying that Epic breached their developer distribution agreement by enriching itself at Google's expense. Good Lord, two big companies arguing about enriching themselves. Jesus, come on now.
Yep.
I don't know, Mark. I mean, between Epic embracing NFT or embracing
games with NFTs and other crap. Yeah, I think I really hate Epic now.
I mean, I lost a lot of respect for Epic when they stole the thing from Among Us. I mean, they actually just ripping it off as well.
Well, they finally said like, "Oh, we actually did do that," and it's like, "No shit, you did." And hey, you also ripped off PUBG for Fortnite in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, but you can have games that are similar, right? Like how many other battle royales have come out now since?
But they can all. I mean, to an extent, sure, but they can all draw their lineage back to that one game. It's
Right. Back all the PUBG.
And it's all
technically
like
Fortnite
naked.
does have the building aspect, so.
Well, it's all very naked because it's all 100 players. It's all like the ring has to constrict or all that stuff, where you get launched out of a plane and fall to the to the map and stuff like that. So it's like it's all very, very obvious.
Yeah.
I hope Google wins, like with Apple, which. I just find Epic's position to be like laughable on its face. To say you have a monopoly, it's like, well, then you make your own phone. You want to take on Valve with the Epic Game Store? Like, hey, make your own Epic phone, and then when you only have one game on it, Fortnite.
Yep. Like, watch people get tired of that eventually.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they've been doing okay since not being on Apple, but you have to think it's hurting them in a way as well. And if Google follows suit,
that's kind of the same thing as like the FIFA EA thing. Like, Epic needs Apple. Apple does not need Epic.
Definitely not. We know Apple is doing just fine.
Yeah.
The way they are. They are thinking about making a Fortnite movie, though.
No.
I guess you could pretty much make that about anything.
Well, what it would be, did you ever see Ready Player One?
Well, yeah, of course.
It'd just be that last 20-minute battle with all like the properties fighting each other for 2 hours.
I read both those books, and saw the movie. I saw the movie like twice, actually. Said I watched it once with an eye. I mean, as cool as that ending part was, the rest of the movie was fine.
I haven't read the books. I do like the movie. But I view the movie as basically like a modern version of The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I guess I can see that.
Like, you have to get, like, basically collecting the keys is basically akin to, like, collecting the, Lion, Tin Man, and Scarecrow, and then you have to face off against the evil witch and having been Nolan Sorrento. But I know the movie is, like, very simplified compared to the book. So,
well, yeah, definitely. They couldn't do all the stuff they did in the book. It would take way too long.
Yeah.
And thank God they didn't try to make it into some kind of like trilogy or whatever. Don't need that. I mean, they are going to eventually make the second book into a movie. It's he already has the rights for it.
Think Spielberg will do it?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I think once it was enough for him to do it there. We're really getting like short on time at this point here. Is there something that you really want to?
I think it's interesting about GTA is going to have the collection will have better controls.
I mean, I would hope so.
Well, I guess here's the weird thing is, like, they say it's going to be like the definitive edition, but like they re-released San Andreas on the 360, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
didn't they release all three of them on
maybe
PlayStation? They were all part of that PS2 remaster on PS4.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I know the 360 one in particular. That was like the mobile port of San Andreas,
right?
And like it technically looked better than the original version, but it looked kind of fake. Also, like not. It was better technically, but it didn't look right. And then they also removed a bunch of music from it.
Well,
So
that's expected.
Well, that's what I'm curious about in this one is how will the music work? And it's funny because I actually don't care about the music in those games personally. Like I always just listen to the talk station. But I'm curious how it's gonna be handled.
I mean, that was all about. I was all about that for Vice City.
Yeah.
So I think I'd definitely it'd be a little bit upsetting if you don't.
I think it's interesting because these things are supposed to be out within like 2 months. I think they said this year, right?
Right. Yes. The idea was for them to come out this year.
Yo, it's October, like mid-October. Like you think they'd show off a trailer or something.
Oh, maybe that's just people speculating. Maybe they don't care if they don't come out this year. I mean, it is Rockstar. They don't rush stuff. And they're fine with just having Grand Theft Auto the Grand Theft Auto 5 online ruling things again. So,
yeah.
I mean, they are totally fine with that.
I did see also the funny thing about like, if you pre-order the game on PC, you get a $10 coupon for the Rockstar game launcher for like your next purchase, and I'm thinking, what of the other two games Rockstar has?
Rockstar game launcher.
Yeah, it's like of the other 3 games, like GTA 5, Red Dead 2, and like Bully, maybe that's about it.
I mean, I love the fact that they keep forgetting that there's other Grand Theft Auto games that came out before, those 3.
Yeah.
You could technically like remaster those as well. And yeah, they're not as modernized, but
I mean, they're basically upscaling for GTA 3 and Vice City and San Andreas, but to like modernize GTA 1, 2, or London 1969, forget it. Like they're just making whole new games at that point.
Oh no, I'm not saying like I would just say like bringing them over or something like that.
Yeah,
it'd be cool to have them.
But those games aren't talked about anymore.
I know that's true. They're not. So my last thing here, of course, is the fact that Microsoft delivered on their promise here of the Xbox mini fridge. It is a thing, Mark, and you can buy it, and it's actually not this like overpriced. I thought they would charge like $150, $200 for it, and it's actually $100, which that's actually cheaper than some other ones that you'll find in a store. I mean, I think it's cool. Like, and the fact that they made the thing where it like lights up too. I mean, I think it's cool that they did this. Good on Microsoft for.
Yeah, here's the problem: is when the thing red rings, it's going to make your food hot.
That'd be great if they had that in there, where like it would turn red if it stopped
breaks.
Working.
Yeah, when it inevitably breaks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I wonder if it will be a hot item for this holiday season for Microsoft. I'm sure that like the initial ones will sell out because people will really want that. But we'll see if they end up languishing on some store shelves or whatnot.
Okay.
If I lived if I still lived in a college dorm or whatever, I would definitely be considering that. I mean,
it doesn't have a freezer, so it kind of defeats the purpose for me, at least.
Yeah, I mean that's also why they were able to make it a little bit cheaper as well.
Yeah,
because it doesn't have the freezer.
It can hold like 8 cans. That's about it.
Well, they did say it is a mini fridge. To be fair.
Yeah.
So, but all right, doing our thing how we usually end the show here, looking at the games that are coming out in the week. That while we do our next show here. And I already mentioned one of them, which is SEGA Generation, coming to Game Pass as well, along with PC. So you can check that out as well. That collection of Saga, Final Fantasy Legend, comes to PC. So that's coming as well. The Kathy Rain Director's Cut comes to other consoles, aside from PS4 or the PS4 and Xbox. So now it's coming to mobile, PC, and Switch. And the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is coming. I know Marc is not necessarily excited about it. But by the time
upon us soon.
By the time we get to the next episode, it will be out that morning and people will be able to play it. So I really hope it's good. I want that game to be good. I'm going back and forth about whether I want to make that purchase, but just from all the trailers and everything I keep seeing.
Don't worry, it'll be on Game Pass within 2 months.
That's also why I'm a little bit hesitant, but I do want to play it before we get to the end of the year because I feel like it's going to be a like control thing. It'll happen like once you get to like January, February, it'll be on there, and by then you're already past the game of the year conversation. So, and also Age of Empires.
Whenever other site gives it a 6.5 or whatever out of 10, you can kind of take their lead on that one.
So I mean, yes, it's very possible that it could be a 6.5 kind of game, six or 7 or whatever. It's like, so what if it winds up being a great game? Marc, are you gonna?
What? It's a great game that every review site that I would trust gives it a 6. That doesn't typically happen.
But what if it's not though? Like, what if they give it like an 8?
If somehow it gets like Deathloop is a good example. Like that, I was very negative on that game, and it's apparently really good. Yeah. But I just think I'll play it until it goes way down in price because I don't care that much personally, and I just don't believe that they have the capacity to make the type of game, especially with the stuff they've shown.
Fair
like enough. Spider-Man 2, I believe. Guardians of the Galaxy, no. Or like Wolverine, I believe.
Couldn't you think that like the attacks would be sort of like that boost thing in Tales, where you're pressing a button to get them to do their whatever attack it is, and then.
I mean, yeah, but the difference is like in Tales that they prove that you can play different characters, and this one you can't.
Right. Well, that's true. You can pick whatever character you want, which that helped a lot. Yeah. Even though I tended to stick to one character, you do have that option to pick.
Yeah, so did I.
And maybe that's what it was. I mean, but at least, it'd be nice to have the option to play as Drax or Rocket or whatever. You're stuck as It'd be like if they made you be stuck as Alphen, even though you could control the other characters with the boost attacks and whatnot.
That's how I played, pretty much.
Yeah, I did that as Runwell, and then I would just hit the boost attacks whenever they'd come up, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so those are what's coming out. So for the next time we do a show, not a whole lot, but you do have Guardians there at the end, and then you have a few things on the 28th, but we'll already have a show by then. So if you enjoyed what you heard here, folks, you know what you can do. You can go hit subscribe. You can ring that bell if you watch on YouTube. You can go follow on Twitch. You can do whatever you like. You go follow us on Twitter at Humanity Play, at WTM Sean, at WTM Network. And of course, we are available wherever there are podcasts. We're on Last Word on Gaming on WTMnet.com. Go check out those sites for more of what we do. And go check out our other shows. If you subscribe to WTM Network, you get the soccer show that I do with Eric on basically coming out on Mondays. And also, you know, all the Marc Radlish stuff. They just reviewed the No Time to Die James Bond movie, and many other things that they have been reviewed. They've reviewed all the other James Bond movies. So, you know, if you are a James Bond fanatic, we've got you covered there. And of course, the NFL football show is out there as well, and more wrestling, anything, a lot of things under the sun under one banner. Cool for you to check out. So until next week, everyone, we will see you later.